This is a special report from ABC News Digital.
Hello, I'm Dan Kleffler in New York with this ABC News Digital special report. The youngest daughter in the Martin McNeil trial will take the stand. The Utah doctor charged with killing his wife to continue an affair has already had two of his daughters take the stand against him, and he could face a third. Ada McNeil, who discovered her mother's body at the age of 6, is now 12, and the judge today decided that the majority of Ada's testimony has been tainted because she was influenced by her sisters. Here's the judge today.
Ada was subjected to suggestive and repeated questioning about material facts by an untrained interviewer with bias as to the suspect's guilt or innocence and bias as to her own pecuniary interest. And 2, the court finds by clear and convincing evidence that there is a substantial likelihood that these interview techniques implanted false memories or distorted real memories in Ada.
And so because of that, she will not be allowed to testify. She will be, though, cross-examined. So for more on the judge's ruling and the Martin McNeil trial in general, I want to bring in attorney and legal analyst Karen DeSoto. Karen, thank you for being with us today. So I want to start with Ada McNeil, the judge not allowing her testimony, but is allowing the cross-examination. Is that an unusual procedure?
It really is an unusual procedure because a lot of the times you, as a defense attorney, of course, being cross-examining is very important, so the judge is allowing that. But as a prosecutor, I think I'd have a pretty strong objection to the fact that I can't ask the questions live and in person. Reading it in is an interesting way of curing the problem that the judge is trying to deal with, but it is highly unusual to allow that. But with children, there are special circumstances, and judges are free to make the decisions as they see fit.
And what about the possibility of the jury questioning then as well? How does that play into this?
Well, it plays in a lot because obviously the jury questioning is a really interesting concept for a lot of juries, and them asking questions may again play into the factors of whether or not she was influenced. Her testimony, remember, when she first gave her original testimony and gave her statement, she was 6 years old. Now she's 12. One of the biggest problems that the defense is saying is that you can't really find her testimony credible. Only thing that you can find credible is the original statement because everything has been tainted. So you could rest assured that there will be a lot of questioning correlated towards what those influences were, why she changed her mind, and why she had different remembering or thoughts later.
The age is something that attorneys have to deal with, but at the same time, her relationship is slightly complicated. She is the biological granddaughter of Martin McNeil, who was then put in the custody of her adopted aunt. Correct?
Correct. So he almost acted as a father.
And so now the state cannot make her testify, but they can ask questions during a redirect. And that's something the prosecution will really obviously want to take advantage of.
Oh, absolutely. Anything that they feel needs to be cured, they could do it when questioning her again. So the original testimony, even though it's not going to be the prosecutor and they're going to read into those statements are very much in favor of the state. And they're going to get a bite at the apple as well after the defense is done cross-examining her.
What about the other testimony that we're going to be keeping a close eye on today? And that is Gypsy Willis, the other woman involved in this. What is she going to be testifying about?
Well, we don't know exactly what she's going to be testifying about. However, the prosecutors are going to use her to establish that she is the motive for wanting Michelle McNeil murdered because she was having an affair with the defendant. Also, there's a lot of very sordid details, Dan, in this case, having to do with fraud and theft and very unsavory, untruthful credibility issues, and whether or not Miss Willis was actually involved in the planning or premeditation of the murder.
And how exactly does that obviously complicates the issue then for both sides, really?
Well, it complicates it, but obviously the prosecutor has this person who was having an affair, a very strong motive. Also, she was moved in shortly after the victim, that the prosecutor is saying she was moved in, quote unquote, as a nanny. and she was just moved in because he was having an affair with her. So a lot of her testimony is not going to be favorable for the defendant at all. The affair, the theft and fraud charges that she faced for identity theft, it really paints a really horrific picture, not just of her, but also of the defendant.
You know, we touched on this just briefly about the fact that the jury can question witnesses, and it's obviously it's a rarity. It's not
Yes.
the standard in this. How does it shape then, if you're looking at the bigger picture, how does it shape both sides as far as their strategy going forward once they start making closing arguments?
Oh, it's great. When you have a jury asking a question, you're a prosecutor or a defense attorney, you know exactly what you're thinking, and obviously they're the jury. They're the people that you need to convince or not convince of something. Therefore, if they're questioning and they're giving you certain questions, you know how you need to respond, or you need to fix your strategy to fit what they're thinking about.
All right. ABC legal analyst Karen DeSoto. Karen, thank you for your time and your insight.
Dan.
We certainly appreciate that. We have a complete report on the Martin McNeil trial on abcnews.com. For now, I'm Dan Kleffler in New York with this ABC News Digital Special Report.
Here now, your latest weather.
Unseasonably cool conditions up and down the East Coast on this Friday. Big high pressure settling into the Midwest, giving us a cold northwesterly flow. And with that cold flow crowd,
They talk about women, right?
clouds and still some showers of rain and some snow. We've had a few flakes in the air around Pittsburgh and Bradford, Pennsylvania.